Ron Harris here, MD Online Editor. Before I start the discussion today, I want to make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, make sure it's set to always, so you always know when we have videos out, because I want your views, guys. I'm being honest. I want your views. Clicks, views, all that crap. I want it. Thumbs up, like the video, share, comment. So I'll get to all your questions and comments after I give my little spiel. Because I have pretty good legs, those are my legs in the thumbnail. People often ask me about leg training, and I always say yes. I was given some pretty good genetics for legs, for quads in particular, but I did have to work very, very hard for years and years to bring out those genetics and maximize the development. Also, that's a very recent picture that was taken like last Sunday out of my deck. 52 years old. They say legs are the first thing to go. No, my legs are still there, I think you can say. So yeah, I want to help you guys get some quads. We're talking about quads in particular today. First question people want to know is, do I need to squat? You don't need to squat, but unless you can't squat, you should squat. When I say can't, you have some sort of debilitating back injury, spinal injury, severe lower back pain, severe knee injury, something like that, that physiologically you can't squat. If you can squat, you should squat with a bar, not a Smith machine, not a squat machine, a 45-pound bar on your back that you add plates onto. Deep squats, at least parallel. I always went below parallel. I know there's a lot of arguments about that. You know, they say below parallel, it's just your glutes, your hams, but you know what? Don't you want to build your glutes and your hams too? Of course you do. So I have always went, they call it ass to grass or ass to heels, all the way down. That's just how I learned to squat. If you look at babies when they're first learning how to stand and walk, that's naturally how they squat down, and they go all the way down till their butt is on their calves, basically a full squat position when a baby gets down to pick something up or whatever. So as humans, we naturally have that ability to squat down low and do a perfect squat. Of course, things get a little more complicated as we get older. We're not as flexible, as pliable. You know, babies are basically made out of rubber. They have incredible flexibility. The older you get, you start losing it. But as long as you keep stretching, very important. I wish I had been more diligent with stretching in my younger years. I was not. I still have some pretty good flexibility, but I think warming up a lot more, stretching more would have saved me a lot of the injuries in general that I've accrued over these decades. So yes, squats. Now the next question is, you know, how many reps? How heavy should I go? I built my legs with a good 25 years of squats. I did squats religiously every leg day for about a quarter century until I could no longer do them. Like, I can do them sometimes now, but it's rare and it's not very heavy at all. You know, back in the day, I used to throw 4 or 5 plates on each side when I was fully warmed up and built up to that. You know, 405 I could get for a good 10 to 12 reps, 5 plates, a few reps, like 3, 4, nothing. I wasn't the greatest squatter. I was pretty good. But you need to do a good range of reps. I don't believe that just low reps will build your quads. Certainly not. You'll build strength in your legs. You'll be better at squats. You'll do more weight on squats, but your quads won't necessarily grow. Very high reps all the time? I don't think so. I don't think that's the option either. I think you need both. So over all those years, I did a lot of sets in the 4 to 6 rep range. I did a lot of sets in the 8 to 10 rep range. I did a lot of sets in the 12 to 15 range. And occasionally I would go up to 20. Typically I used to save my higher reps for things like the leg press, where I was braced and supported. And I would do my squats first back in the day. Squats always came first, and then I would move on to a machine, hack squats or a leg press. A lot of times it was a leg press, because I always feel you lose your coordination, your balance as the workout goes on. So I always wanted to be fresh and have all that balance and coordination for when I needed it with a heavy bar on my back. This is in my younger years when I used to walk in. First warm-up would be a 45 on each side, 135, 10 reps. It felt like nothing. It was like, literally felt like a feather back in the day when I was super strong, a lot stronger than now. Second warm-up set would be 225 for 10, still very, very light. And then 315 would usually be my first working set. I would do a set with that. I would do 315 for 10, which wasn't that challenging at all. 365 for 10 was starting to feel heavy. 405, I would try to knock out a good 2 sets with that 10, 12 reps, and then I would usually move on. I didn't do a ton of sets of squats. Sometimes I did. Sometimes I would sit there and just do the whole leg workout, or most of it would just be a lot of squats. So deeper reps, at least a parallel, a good rep range. I don't believe training for strength purely is ever going to give you the leg development you need. Good example, in 2002, I competed in the New England Championships, and there was a guy in my class, Billy, national level powerlifter. I think he had a few powerlifting titles at the time. And, everyone's backstage, and I'm like eavesdropping on all the conversations. We're just sitting around waiting to go on. And he talked about he had like an 800-pound squat or something. Like, wow, I can't wait to see this guy's legs. And when he finally took off his sweatpants, I was really shocked. My legs were a lot bigger than his legs. My quads were much, much bigger, more impressive. I'm thinking, man, I can't squat 800. Why does he have? And then, eventually I came to figure it out. It's because he was doing low reps all the time. He was training for strength. Training for strength and for muscle size, two very different things. When you're training for strength, it's these quick bursts of power. When you're training for muscular development, you want to keep the muscle under tension. Stress the muscle. Keep it under stress for about a minute or so. So that's why when we give these rep ranges like 10 to 12, 12 to 15, it's not so much the number of reps that matters. It's the time it takes to complete all those reps, keeping the muscle under tension that time. So squats, very, very important. Leg presses, I don't think I would have built quite the same level of quads if I had just squatted. I do think you need to hit any muscle from different angles. So you should do a lot of leg presses and a lot of hack squats. And I kept a close stance on both of those. Sometimes, especially with hacks, I usually had my feet completely together on hack squats, which I always felt more in the outer quads, which gives you that sweep. That sweeping shape, it is largely genetic. I'm not going to deny that for a minute. But at the same time, you can focus on certain aspects of the muscle. In this case, the vastus lateralis, the outside of the quads. When you have a very close stance, just like if you have a wide stance, now you're targeting more of the inner thigh and your glutes and hams. When your feet are together, and to take it a step further, not many people can do this because it hurts a lot of people's knees. But I used to keep my feet very low on the platform. On the leg press, for example, my heels wouldn't even be on the platform. They were off. It was just about the top 2/3 or 3/4 of my foot would be on the platform pushing. Same thing with hack squats. They'd be all the way at the bottom. And I felt that purely in the quads. Again, that hurts. That's very painful for a lot of people's knees. And obviously, if you're experiencing knee pain in anything, you don't want to keep doing that. Another thing I want to caution against is going very, very heavy on leg extensions, which I did for years. And I never had leg pain until except for those times when I would go very heavy on extensions, like the stack, then I'd pin another 45 or another 245s on, because my quads are very strong, but the leg, they're not meant to work very heavy in that extension motion. You can go heavier in the compound movement when you're pushing, engaging all these other muscles, but when it's just a single joint leg extension, all that load, hundreds, you say it's a 300-pound stack, and now you're putting another 45 or 245s on there. That's a lot of weight right there on your knees for all those little tendons and ligaments to try to support and deal with. So no, don't do that. Next question I get all the time is, how often should I work my legs? I don't think once a week is enough for most people. I think unless your legs are staying sore for like 5 or 6 days, I would hit them every 4th or 5th day. And when I do that, and I've done that for many years, I didn't always do quad dominant. It wasn't always quads first. It would be quads first one day, and the next day it would be do all my hamstring work first and then get to the quads. And there was still plenty of gas left in the tank for quads after hams, but the reverse isn't true. If you do all your quad movements first, you'll find that you're not really that strong you don't have that much energy left for hamstrings. So I would say every 4th or 5th day. How many different exercises? I would warm up very well on a stationary bike, treadmill, something like that. A good 8 to 10 minutes, get the blood flowing, get a lot of blood around the knees, a lot of warmth and heat. Then I used to start with squats. To me, that made the most sense. It didn't make sense for me to start with leg extensions. I did sometimes, but I wanted to get to those squats because I was all about doing as well as I could on the squats when I was fresh. So I would warm up, do my, usually about 4 working, sorry guys, about 4 working sets of squats, Then I would move on to a secondary pressing movement, usually the leg press. A lot of times it was a hack squat too. I would do four or five sets on that, you know, building up. Reps on the leg press, I typically went a little higher. I would do usually no less than 10 or 12 reps on the leg press. Most times the reps on leg press for me were 12 to 20. A lot of sets right around 15. That just felt right. It's the right amount of weight. It was heavy enough to challenge, but it wasn't so heavy that I still couldn't get the reps and keep the muscle under tension. I would do that. Then I would do some leg extensions usually. Really squeezing them at the top, not just bouncing, not flinging the weight up, but really bringing them up and squeezing, controlling it on the way down. This is probably the only exercise I can demonstrate using my fingers, is leg extension. Do that. Then I would get into hamstrings, lying leg curls, seated leg curls, Romanian deadlifts, calves. Yeah, I see we have a bunch of questions now, so I'm going to start getting to them. Questions and comments. Let's see. So what do we got, guys? What do we got? I hope this is about legs. I hope you're not talking about the Prague show or something. So Austin Joel Sims says, volume plus heavy weights with higher reps. Going past the pain barrier in leg day is key. Great stuff, brother. Yeah. There's plenty of people with big arms who didn't train them that hard. They didn't have to go through a lot of pain and suffering to get those big arms. In fact, I've seen guys with big arms who don't even train. Go figure. Anybody you see with really enormous legs, even if they had great genetics, like a Branch Warren, a Tom Platz, all these guys, the late Paul DeMeo, they all had to train very, very hard, go through a lot of pain, take their sets past the pain barrier. You know, high rep squats are probably one of the toughest things you'll ever do in your life. 20 rep sets of squats. I never did more than 365 for 20 reps. And to me, that was, by the time I got to like rep 14 or 15, my life was flashing before my eyes. I felt like my lungs were bursting out of my chest. I would have to take a few breaths, come down, do another rep. Like I want to rack it, but no, I got to get to 20. A few more breaths, down, up, a few more breaths. And you know, those last few reps, they were a grind. It would take me sometimes as long to do those last 5 reps as it did the first 15, because usually the first 10 or 12, I was constantly moving, no pausing at all. And then I would have to start. So it's almost like rest pause when you think about it, but very, very effective. You know, for many years, breathing squats, what they call breathing squats, which are really just high rep squats, were all the rage for gaining mass in general. In the old days, this is old, way before I was born, they had guys doing these breathing squats, like 20 rep sets of squats, and then going over to a bench with a dumbbell, doing a pullover, and you know, really doing the pullovers with a lot of breaths, and they were trying to expand their rib cage, which I don't even know if that's physiologically possible to do. And they were drinking like a gallon of whole milk every day back then, you know. They didn't really care if they got fat back then, as long as they were putting on mass. James Sturgeon, do you think you could hack squat instead of barbell squats and get the same results? Yeah, pretty close. In fact, my history of back injuries goes back so far. I hurt my back for the first time shortly after I turned 18 in the fall of 1987. And then, you know, many, many more times after that. Probably a couple hundred back injuries. I'm not even exaggerating. So there would be long stretches of time where I couldn't squat because my back was just too much pain. I pulled the muscles. I ruptured discs, you know, all kinds of horrible injuries. So when that was the situation, I would do leg presses and hack squats, you know, with a belt on and everything, and your back supported on the hacks. I got great results. My legs kept growing because I was still working hard and heavy, going past to failure and beyond. I think if you work very, very hard on hack squats, you'll get pretty close to the same results as squats. I still think squats are the best, but hack squats are up there. They're not far behind. Next question or comment. Ron, do you still do hack squats? If you do like it better than leg press? Nah, I'm telling you guys, I don't want to sound like one of these older guys that just bitches and moans about all his injuries, but I've been getting, in the last couple of years, my right knee has been really bothering me more and more. Leg press usually doesn't bother me until I go really, really heavy. But the hack squats, sometimes I can do it and sometimes I can't. Most times I start doing it and I feel that pain and I just back right off. I say, no, I don't push it. That's one thing I learned is finally, if I'm starting to feel any kind of weird pain or strain, I stop, because I've learned that that's usually the warning sign that you're about to get injured if you don't stop doing. If you continue pushing your luck and doing what you're doing on that exercise and going heavier, you're probably going to get hurt that day. But yeah, so I don't do many hacks. Most of the time I'm doing leg presses. We got a new pendulum squat at my gym, Bayshore Athletic Club, Braintree, Mass. I like that a lot. That doesn't hurt my knees. Back is supported. That's a good machine too. Smith machine squats I can do. Not super heavy like, the old days. But don't worry about what I'm doing now. I'm 52. I built my legs up long ago. Right now, luckily I'm still able to maintain them without training the way I used to train. Let's see. Endless gaming. Well, I feel like the first rep is the hardest. If you manage, you can do more reps anyway. You always train legs all together. The first rep's hard, yeah, but I mean, you can't compare the first rep. If you're doing like 20 reps on a leg press, the last rep's pretty freaking hard. But I see what you're saying, getting that movement going, breaking the inertia, and getting the weight moving. Obviously, that's difficult, of course. Angelus also adds, did you always train legs all together? Yeah, I never had just a hamstring day or a quad day, but for a long time, for a few years, probably about a good 3 or 4 years, I always did hamstrings first because I was looking at, this is back when I was competing, and I was looking at pictures, and all my side poses, I'd see the quad was like really well developed and round and bowing out roundness, and the hamstrings were pretty flat in comparison. So I said, geez, my hamstrings suck. What am I going to do? So I just, for a good 3 or 4 years, I did all my hamstring work first, then went to quads. And my quads kept growing anyway. I still had, like I said before, doing your hamstrings doesn't really knock you out and sap all your energy the way, if you're doing hams after you did a bunch of squats and leg presses, extensions, maybe you did some lunges or step-ups, you're not going to be able to do much for your hams. The workout's going to be not very effective because you just don't have the energy. But yeah, if you want to break them up, if you want to do a quad day and a hamstring day, go for it. Let's see. Chris Miles, I would split my legs on 2 different days. A lot of people do that. Bruh says, what do you think about low rep squats for naturals, like in the 6 to 8 rep range? The rules for what makes a muscle, the things that make a muscle grow for a person who's natural versus enhanced, they're not different. The person who's enhanced, gets better results because the hormones are helping. But it's not like natural should do lower reps and people on gear should do higher reps. No. You can do 6 to 8 reps. I did a lot of sets in the 6 to 8 rep range, but I would also do, if I didn't do any sets higher than like 10 for squats, I would always move on to a leg press, and those reps were higher. Those reps would be a minimum of 12, usually 12 to 20. A lot of sets, 15 to 20 reps. A lot of times I would try to keep the reps at 20 on the leg press and keep adding weight until I couldn't get 20. And once I could only get like 12, once it was so heavy I could only get 10 to 12, that would be my last set. But yeah, I hope that answered your question. Yeah, Angela said I wouldn't call 8 rep squat low rep. Yeah, when I say low rep, I'm thinking like 1 to 5. 1 to 5. I mean, 8's a good amount of reps. For legs, typically you do want a little higher reps, but there's nothing wrong with doing some of those 6 to 8 rep sets. Like I said, I did a lot of those, but a lot of it was probably ego because I even did a lot of those 4 or 5 reps because I wanted to do like 5 plates, and I couldn't do 5 plates for 10 reps. I could do it for like 4 or 5 reps going all the way down, but no, I couldn't do it for more than that. Like I said, I was a good squatter. I wasn't a great squatter. Relatively speaking, it's low for legs. Jerry, I always do my front squats every other day. Thank you. Yeah, front squats are great. They're a tough exercise. I mean, it took me years, and I never liked them. I never enjoyed front squats. A lot of times I would start doing fronts and then say, screw this, and I would just switch to the back. Or I used to do one superset I really liked a lot, and you guys should try this. If you've never tried this, do your front squats, rack it, and then get under it and keep going for back squats, because front squats are much harder. So say you can only do, say your max for front squats is 315 for 10. You'll do that, and then you can rack it and get back under it, and you find you can probably get another 10 reps somewhere around there with the back squats, and man, your legs are on fire. Yeah, front squats are great, but it takes a lot of figuring out. It took me so long to figure out the right balance and without choke. I felt like I was being choked out, but eventually, I figured where to put the bar and all that. Pros, so let's see. Hacks are bad, let's see. Chris Miles says hacks are bad for knees, period, especially if you have bad knees. I did them for years and years with no knee problems, like years. And I'm talking like 5, 6, 7, 8 plates aside, all the way down. If you biomechanically, if they do hurt your knees, don't do them. But I don't think that statement is valid for everyone. And I don't want everyone to say, I don't want people that haven't done hack squats saying, oh, I shouldn't do hack squats because they're bad for your knees. They might be bad for your knees. They might not be. Like in my case, they weren't, and I got great results. Like I said, there were long stretches of time where my lower back was in agony. I couldn't squat, so I did leg presses and hack squats. I think hacks are a great exercise if you can do them. Let's see, Rogue Silver, do you think there's a difference between squatting for bodybuilding and powerlifting? I see guys that squat a lot of weight with a wider stance that don't have big legs. Yeah, everything in powerlifting, as far as their technique, is geared toward getting more weight up. Like their bench, they take a very wide grip. Their arch, put a big arch in their back because they're shortening the distance that they have to press, and they're using more shoulders, triceps, even the lats than they are chest. Like I said, I've never benched like I don't bench at all anyway, but I'm saying I could never bench a ton of weight, but I was always trying to really work and squeeze my pecs. So even now, 52, I still have a pretty thick pecs, and I can't bench for shit. Anyway, yeah, so when you have a really wide stance, you'll be able to move more weight because you don't have to go as far down, and you're using a lot more glutes, hamstrings, lower back, which is what they want because they want all the most powerful muscles in the body, not just the quads. They want those big glutes, the hams, the quads all working together to get the weight up, but they're not worried about trying to make their legs grow. I don't, my stance, everyone needs to figure out their own stance, and there's no rule saying your stance should always be shoulder width and your toes should always be exactly like this. You have to play around and find out the best stance for you. My stance was a little wider than the standard shoulder width. That's what felt right for me. It allowed me to get all the way down, get a good feeling in the quads. So for me, but you need to figure it out yourself. But a super wide stance like a powerlifter, probably not the best way to make your legs grow. It's a great way to get a lot of weight up, but it's not the same thing. Chris Miles, I love push-pull training. Yeah, I do push-pull legs 3 days in a row and then take a day off. Chris says, more weight, not always better? Absolutely, it's not. It's better if that's all you care about is getting big. Getting strong. 1 to 5 reps is max reps. Angela's Gaming, what do you think about my split? 1, quads. 2, free. 3, chest. 4, back. Hamstrings. 5, shoulders, arms. That's fine. You're doing back and hamstrings together, it looks like. Wait a minute. 3, chest. 4, back, hamstrings. 5. Yeah, it looks like you're doing back and hamstrings together. While they do kind of go together in a way because you do, deadlifts. If you're deadlifting, there's a lot of hamstring involvement in that. I do think back is such a big, complex muscle group. It should have its own training day. I do back with biceps and rear delts, but I don't do much for biceps. Usually just 2 exercises. But hamstrings, I think that's a lot to do back and hams together. If it works and you feel like you have enough energy for hamstrings after back, I guess it's fine. But I think for most people, by the time they got through with back, they wouldn't have enough energy left to really do justice to a proper hamstring workout. That's just my feeling. Okay, Chris Miles, front squats are tough. Yeah, they're tough because you feel like you're being choked out. It takes a while to really figure out where to put the bar. And even then, you got to put it like across your shoulders. If it's too close to your collarbone, it's going to hurt. I never liked the pad because then if I put that pad thing on, it felt like it was going to roll off. In fact, it would roll off. I've seen a lot of people that do it where they're barely touching it. It's just balanced. I would never do that. I always did this to try to keep it secure. I don't want that shit rolling off me. Yeah. Let's see, front squat. So, Bruh says, what do you think about going ass to grass on squat movements using the bounce at the bottom? I do believe in going ass to grass. I would never want to see anybody bounce. You never want to bounce out of the bottom of anything. Like a bench press, you'll tear your pec or your shoulder eventually. You do that on the squat, eventually you're going to hurt your knees badly, very badly, or you're going to tear a quad. Do not bounce. Control the descent. You can come up fast, but you never want to come down fast and bounce out of the bottom. Bad idea, guys. Very bad idea. Very dangerous. Please don't do that. I don't want to see anybody getting hurt. I've been hurt so many times. It sucks. I don't like to see anybody else get hurt either. Let's see. Chris Miles, 315 for 10, I wish. Yeah, I have a picture on my Instagram from a few weeks ago. So I trained with Ronnie Coleman. I trained legs with Ronnie Coleman once. February 2005 at Metroflex Gym in Arlington. It was part of his workout weekend. And I he was doing front squats, not regular squats that day. So we were just following Ronnie's workout, whatever he was doing. And talk about the power of the mind. I got 405 for 8 or 10 reps. He wasn't helping me, and I was going all the way down. I had never done that weight before in my life. I never did it again. But I had Ronnie Coleman behind me going, come on, Ron, lightweight. You know, Ronnie Coleman. And that was, he at the time, he was a 7-time Mr. Olympia. This was a few months before he won his 8th and final Olympia. I mean, I wasn't going to punk out in front of Ronnie Coleman. So, man, it's like the power of the mind, like when your child's trapped under a burning car, you know, your 120-pound mom, you can flip that car over. I guess it was something like that, adrenaline. I don't know. I never did it again. I know that. Let's see. Jerry says you hear that's far better for your knees long term. If you're talking about bouncing at the bottom, it's horrible for your knees. Horrible. Bruh. He says I do front squats on the super squat machine. Well, those aren't really front squats. You're using a machine. It feels way more comfortable. It can be done after doing back squats. Keep squatting without having to endure the bar pressure on front squats. Yeah, I do think doing machine work after barbell squat, either behind a regular stand or a front squat, that makes a lot of sense because you need all your energy to keep that bar balanced, and you need your coordination. And after a few sets of that, you're going to be pretty tired. You won't have the same degree of coordination. So that's when you go onto a machine where you don't have to worry about balancing and you keep working the legs hard. But to me, that sequence makes sense for almost everything. Like for chest, I always did my free weights, which dumbbells usually. I didn't do a lot of barbell work. Incline barbell I did, but I would always do my free weights first, then machines. It just felt right to me because if I did the free weights after, I was never strong. I never had this much strength, but it was really more of a coordination issue. I couldn't keep the heavy dumbbells balanced, but if I did them first and then went on to like a hammer strength or whatever, then I was fine. So free weights, then machines. That was a sequence that worked very well for me. Chris Miles again. I've had shoulders. What type of chest press do you recommend? I don't know what you mean by shoulders. You have a shoulder injury, I think you're trying to say. I'm 57. Oh, okay, you're even older than me. Good Lord. I didn't think anybody was older than me. You do back alone. Back, big muscles. Well, we're talking about legs, so I'll do another video on chest training because, that's like the only other thing I have is a big chest. Big quads and a big chest. I used to have a big butt, but I don't squat anymore. J-Biz, I've watched people do front squats with their arms straight out in front of them. Psychos. Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen, I don't know what it's called, some kind of grip where it's like on their fingertips like this. I can't even, my arms don't even, my hands don't even rotate that far, but I've seen it where it's just barely, yeah. I mean, I like to make sure that thing's not going anywhere. I'd be like this. I also like that safety bar, the one that's like a harness, a yoke that goes across you like you're an ox pulling a freaking wagon. I like those a lot too. I didn't do them a lot because I didn't have access to one. Most of the years I trained, the gyms I trained at didn't have one of those, so I just didn't do them. Let's see, Henry O'Mara, safety bar squats. Oh wow, I swear I didn't see that. Yeah, I think safety bar squats are great. They're just another version of free bar squats. It's a bar. It's not in a machine. It's not on a track. It keeps it balanced for you. Those you actually don't even have to touch it. Most of the ones I've tried, you don't have to touch it. They stay on you. I like to just, out of feeling of security, I like to hold on. They usually have little handles here, and then the harness, the pad goes here across your shoulders. But I think safety bar squats, they're great. If your gym has them and has one of those and you haven't tried it, give it a try. A lot of people who have trouble with the back squat, either because, look at my shoulder range of motion. It's horrible now. I have very little external rotation. It's very hard for me to get my arms back far enough to hold a bar. It's ridiculous, I know, but a lot of guys have shoulder problems like that where they can't get their arms back anymore. So that safety bar squat, your arms are in front of you, just like a front squat, but it keeps you upright too. You don't pitch forward like, the biggest problem with the form you see a lot on squats is people, they start bending over because the body's always trying to make everything easier. So it wants to involve the lower back more because your lower back's actually very powerful unless it's injured or something. So yeah, safety bar squats, love them, recommend them. Chris Miles. You train with Ronnie and you're still alive. Yeah, nothing but a peanut. I'll tell you what though, I ruined it. I had a brand new pair of Nike sneakers. I know this is ridiculous, but it was pouring rain that day in Arlington, Texas. Pouring rain. Ronnie does those parking lot lunges. Well, it's not really a parking lot. It's the street in front of Metroflex, which I don't know if it's paved now, but back then it wasn't. It was like all gravel and dirt. And so you can imagine, it's been pouring rain, it's just all mud and puddles. It was disgusting. So we're out there like sloshing through that with, I was doing 185. I think Ronnie had 225. Most of the people were using 135. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We had to go to like this like mailbox at the end of the block and back. That was the one set. I think we had to do it twice. But my shoes got destroyed with that mud. And I didn't even want to do it. I was being a baby. And Ronnie says, I'll buy you some new sneakers. Of course I didn't. I didn't ask him to buy me new sneakers. It's fine. I got to work out with Ronnie. Another great leg work. I worked out. I did legs with Branch Warren. That was, oh my God, that was rough. That guy trains hard. And Dorian Yates put me through a leg workout at Temple Gym in Birmingham. That was one of the toughest leg workouts of my life. And I could never do it on my own. It's something you can only do with Dorian there, like yelling in your ear and pushing you. Every set was like way beyond failure. It was only like 4 exercises, but the whole workout was like under a half hour. I think it was like, yeah, it wasn't even a half hour, but Jesus. My legs were killing me for a week after that. Killing me. Same thing with the branch workout. My legs were killing me for like a week after that. Let's see. Bruh, so single leg or both leg extension. You can do single. It's really a matter of choice. I like to do them both. Just get them out of the way. Ain't nobody got time for that. You could do one. It doesn't really matter. I love walking lunges. Yeah. Never bounce ever. I agree, Chris. Retired maniac. Thoughts on conservative Cuban being the new father. What? Huh? What the hell is that? Did you type something wrong? I don't know what the hell you're talking. Is conservative? Who's conservative Cuban? I don't know. I'm married to a Cuban. I don't know. Chris, I'm short 5'4". Well, I'm getting shorter all the time. I'm down to 5'7.5". I was 5'8.5" in my late 20s and into my 30s. I'll probably be 5'4" if I live long enough, right? At the rate I'm going. You look great, thank you, Tommy. Bruh, he doesn't know the conservative Cuban, most likely the only maniac. Yeah, what's conservative Cuban? Clue me in, because now I feel like I'm not in on your little inside joke. Conservative Cuban, is that a YouTube channel or is that a rapper? I have no idea what that is. Yeah. He's a beast. Oh, it's a big dude? I don't know. It's someone on Instagram? I don't know. My good Chris Miles, my good buddy trained with Kai Green. He said, never again I train with Kai. Yeah, I've never trained with Kai. I've seen him train. Not a full workout. I saw him at like an expo. He was training in the middle of the expo, which I doubt was his real workout. But I know from people who have seen him train, from talking to him, his leg workouts can be like 3 hours long. Kai is a very unique individual. He does what he thinks is best. He breaks all the rules. Like for instance, he would warm up. His warm-up before he started legs would be 45 minutes on the step mill. That's his warm-up before he does anything. Then he goes and does legs. Not only that, I think a lot of times he used to do on the step mill, he wouldn't hold the rails. He would put a broomstick across his back so he couldn't touch the rails. So it was all, that's crazy. Yeah, so Kai. And then he would do legs for, hours. That guy's one of a kind. He mentions better to have an own day for back, but you train push-pull legs. Well, yeah, on the pull day, I'm doing mainly back. It's my back exercises. I'll do like 4 or 5 exercises for back. I'll do 1 exercise for rear delts. I don't really train traps anymore. I find you don't really need to if you're doing all that. And then biceps, I find I can get biceps done with 2 exercises, like 4 work sets each. If you just train back, your biceps are all warmed up. It doesn't take a whole lot to really blast your biceps after doing a full back workout. So I can do push, pull, legs. I can do a pull workout with all those back, rear delts, biceps. I get that all done in like an hour and 10 minutes. Usually, if I'm really being lazy and talking to people, maybe it'll take longer, but no. Usually, if you keep moving and, because I'm training everything every 4th day, or is it? Yeah. Every 4th day. So push, pull, legs off, push, pull, legs off. I don't have to do as much because I know I'm going to hit it again pretty soon. It's not like training something once a week where like, oh no, I better beat the crap out of it because I'm not going to be touching that body part again for a week. Because I'm training everything twice every 8 days, I don't do as much for it because I know I'm going to get to it again pretty soon. Oh, okay, here we go. Everybody trying to you mentioned better. Bro, what did you weigh as a natural at your height? So the last time I competed, when I was still natural, before I tried anything, because once I used steroids and went back to natural shows, we can't count that. I don't count that because in the NPC there are natural shows where you have to be natural for 1 year, which you guys can. I'm sure most of you guys think that's bullshit. That's not natural because you built a lot of size with the drugs. Anyway, 1995 Ironman naturally was my best look as a natural. I put pictures of it up on my Instagram sometimes at Ron Harris Muscle. 181. So 181 was my best weight, really lean and shredded. Glutes weren't in, so I don't know. To get my glutes in, I would have had to go down probably another 10 pounds, but everything else was really lean, tight, striated. 181, and at that time I was definitely 5'8". I'm 5'7.5" now. Mother effer. Sucks. It's a good thing I'm married, not dating, because women won't date under 6 foot now, right? Even don't get me started on all that crap, man. Women today are nuts. They are nuts. Anyway, Kai on another level, man. Yeah, so 181. That was my best weight. But I competed naturally. I started steroids 2 years after that show. Well, almost 2 years. It was a little less than 2 years. I started competing when I was 19 at about 150 pounds. And then my last show, I was 25 when I did that show in 95. I turned 26 a few months later, but I was 181. So I put on a good 30 plus pounds of stage weight as a natural from age 19 to 25. I don't know how much more I would have been able to put on because I didn't stay natural for a whole lot longer after that. 96. Yeah, I was 27. So the very end of 96 was my first cycle. I was 27. Yeah. I turned 27 in September of 96. And I started in late November. Anyway. Message held for review. Kai Green is from Fifth Avenue Gym in Park Slope, Brooklyn, which is now closed. Yeah. I saw pictures of that place. It was in like a basement, I think, or was it under the street level? It looked pretty hardcore and small. Chris Miles, NPC, not a natural organization. No, I didn't say it was. No, we have natural organizations. I'm in Massachusetts. There's a good one, the OCB. They put on a lot of shows in my area. I think INBF puts on a few shows. NGA used to. I honestly don't follow the natural circuit. I'm busy. My job has me covering in high level, the national NPC shows, but more so the IFBB Pro League shows. So I'm not as familiar with the natural organizations as I started out in an organization called the ANBC, which is long gone. They were based out of Woonsocket, Rhode Island. Bob Gormley was the president. They had a ton of shows all the way from Maine down to, I want to say like Virginia, the Carolinas maybe, but mostly in the Northeast, mostly in New England, New York, New Jersey. That was where most of their shows were. And I did probably about 6 or 8 of their shows. Competed with Tito Raymond. I'd say competed with. He was second place in the men's division that year. We were both 20. I was like 11th or something. I was way down there. Aaron Williams, Ron, I'm 60. My quad's still growing. How are your quads still growing? Did you just start training them? Because if you started training when you were 20, you tell me they've been growing for 40 years and they're still growing? They would be this big, dude. I have this conversation every time. Is it with you or some of the older guys? If you're still making gains at 60, either you started training very late or you stopped training for a bunch of time. Because if anybody had been training consistently since they were very young, by the time you get to your 50s and 60s, there's no effing way you're still growing, or else you'd be like 1,000 pounds ripped. Do you know what I'm saying? You'll correct me, I'm sure, in a second here, either here or in the comments, but OCB is good. I'm 27, getting aesthetic. There you go. NGA, yeah, I know the NGA is still around. I haven't seen. WNBF is a pro organization, yeah. Tito is a beast too. Tito Raymond stayed natural. He's my age. He's actually like a month older. We're both 52 now. And man, Tito looks phenomenal. Lifetime natural athlete. If he had gone on drugs, he would have blown up just like Jose did. But man, just very athletic, functional physique. He was competing. He was trying to get into the CrossFit Games a few years ago. He does that. He was teaching like kickboxing classes. Super strong. I remember there was like a deadlift challenge at the Fit Expo in Pasadena years ago, and he just entered on a whim and he won. And I think he did like, pulled 405 for like 30 reps until he got bored and just walked away. Yeah, Tito's awesome. I love Tito. It's called muscle memory, people. Anyway, yeah. Aaron Williams, I want to hear more about your situation, because I'm not calling you out. I'm genuinely, I've never seen anyone at the age of 60 still adding muscle mass, unless it's they just started using steroids recently, which somebody did admit that to me. Yeah, that was the case. They were lifelong natural, and now I just started using steroids. Of course, you're going to make some new gains anytime you're a natural and you start on steroids. Everybody does that. But like I said, I'll do a whole other video about that sometime, but we don't keep gaining muscle forever. If you say you even put on like 5 pounds of muscle every year and you start training when you're 16, now you're making me do math. So let's say by the time you're 56, that would be 40 years, right? So 40 times 5 is 200, right? So you would put on 200 pounds of muscle, which who's done that? So if you started out like at 120 pounds or something, maybe you got to 320. I guess that's possible, but still, it's just usually you put on most of your muscle mass, you make most of your gains in the very early stages of your training, the first few years, and it slows down dramatically. And the longer you've been training, the harder it is to gain any additional muscle mass. It's just a biological, physiological fact of these shells, these human bodies we inhabit. Anyway, going off on a tangent. Who's being Big Rami? Damn it, I knew somebody's going to bring that up. No, we're not talking about Rami or the Prague show, nothing like that. This is training. I know I cover training and drugs and all that, but I don't like to talk about who's got beef with who or contest, who's going to win this contest coming up. I could talk training all damn day. I love training, love it. I still spend like 2 hours a day in the gym almost every day when I should be working, probably getting more done, but I love training. I love it. It's like my favorite thing. Second favorite thing. 5 natural pounds is hard to put on. Absolutely. No, it is. People make all these crazy claims about I put on 30 pounds of muscle. Most of the time it's not. It's even when someone puts on like 30 pounds on a steroid cycle, which is a lot, it's not 30 pounds of muscle. It's usually, maybe if you're very lucky, 15 pounds of muscle. It's usually more like 8 to 10. And the rest is fat and water. I used to bulk up. You see, I stay lean now. I used to bulk up. By this time, usually my face would be starting to look like a pumpkin. But I got sick of it because every time I would diet down, I thought I was putting on all this muscle. I'm like, oh shit, I still look the same. I guess that wasn't muscle. It was fat and water. Oh boy. Endless. Swallow the one who will beat Rami needs huge quads. Don't forget the marine collagen powder for skincare gains. I use the collagen powder from Costco. I don't think that's marine collagen powder. Chris, I hope I know my stuff. I've been doing this since I started training consistently in the fall of September 1983. 1983, not 1883, but still, that was a long time ago. Yeah, because I just started my freshman year, 9th grade of high school. And I had been lifting at home a little bit, but my friend Paul Poirier had weights in his attic, and we trained every day. He only had like 4 albums. It was AC/DC Back in Black, Aerosmith Toys in the Attic. It was like 4 albums, and that's all we listened to every day, the same 4 LPs, vinyl LPs, as we trained. Yeah, good old days, man. Those were good old days. What compounds were your favorite for bulking? Same. I think anybody that's made good gains bulking on gear, it's the same shit. Test is always the best. Test is best. If you use nothing else, use test. But test I always stacked it with like Deca or Equipoise. Later on, I would do test and trend, which, there's a lot of side effects and issues with that cycle, but the gains are pretty crazy. I was never that big into orals, probably because they weren't, for a long time, it was easy for me to get oils, bottles. The sources I knew I didn't get a lot, but Dianabol, Anadrol, I never ran more than 50, 60 milligrams a day, like an Anadrol 50. I didn't use Anadrol much. D-bol, I got D-bol a lot more. For some reason, it was easier for me to get. Anyway. Yeah, but test Test, Tren, Deca, Equipoise, Anadrol, Dianabol, Tren. If you can't grow with some combination of those, you can't grow. I learned from guys like you. Thank you. R.I.P. Frank Zane. Frank Zane's not dead. Did he die? You didn't read the rest of it? Yes, I had some breaks in training, but the high reps do it. No, I didn't read it. Oh, you're right. I didn't read it. I'm sorry, Aaron. You're right. I'm 60. My quad's still growing. You have to up the reps to the 15, 25 range. So what's happening in your case is you never did high reps before. Then when you started doing them, your legs began to grow again. That's one thing when I talk to people that they say my legs won't grow, and I have them run down what they're doing for legs. And a lot of times all they're doing is like 8 to 10 reps for everything. Like, no, or less. Yeah, you have to throw some high reps in there. And if you've never done it before, even if you've been training legs for years and years, I guarantee if you've never done high reps, supersets, giant sets, things like that to keep the muscle under tension longer, you'll definitely see new results. And that goes for everything. I've talked to guys who they come to me for chest won't grow, and I have them explain this is what I do for chest. I say, dude, all you're doing is 4, 5, 6 reps for chest, and you think your chest is going to grow? You're strong. I've seen you bench, but your chest sucks. No, you gotta get the reps up there, 10, 12, sometimes 15, throw some supersets in there sometimes. Like a pec fly and a bench press machine back to back. Shit like that will get you pumped and sore. Anyway, so Aaron, I apologize. I didn't read but that explains it, is you never did high reps before, then you started doing them. I gotta walk my dog Branch soon. He's Branch the Buppas, B-U-P-P-A-S, Branch the Buppas on Instagram. Adorable little pit bull. Little 75-pound bundle of joy most of the time. What else? I'm going to go soon, guys. The dog needs to be walked. Did Frank Zane die? If so, this is the first I'm hearing of it. I hope not, because he looked great the last time I saw him. Androl is powerful, absolutely. Sam Awad, is 2,000 milligrams of gear in the off-season low, average, or high? That's pretty high. Not for a pro, not for a very experienced person, but for a regular human being, and especially if you're not a giant already. If you're not someone who's 250 pounds, that's a lot. I've done that in the past, sure, but you should be able to do pretty well between a gram and 1,500. I think 2 grams is really starting to push it, just because you don't need it. I don't think most people need that much to grow. I really don't. If you're eating enough, if you're training hard, getting plenty of sleep, I don't think you need more than a gram and a half. Once you start getting to 2 grams and up, I think you're just going to start seeing more side effects, and you might get a little more results, but you look at that risk benefit ratio. Is it worth it? A little more results for a lot more risk and side effects. I found it, for me, it wasn't worth it. Yes, he died. Oh, jeez. Did he really? So prefer lower the weights to do more reps. I can't do high reps or max weight. Well, you have to find a weight that you can do. So it's a weight that you can do for 15, 20 reps, but it's very, very hard to get those 15 reps or 20 reps. No, you shouldn't be using weight that you can only get a few reps with. Like Ronnie Coleman, people say, man, he trains really heavy, but Ronnie did most of his sets with 12 reps, if you look at his videos, which means he could have gone a lot heavier if he was only doing 6 or 8 reps. But he did 12 reps. So if he was doing 200-pound dumbbells for sets of 12, he probably could have been done 250s for sets of 6 to 8. But he didn't. Did I name my dog after Branch Horn? Absolutely, I did. 100%. Great name. Squat and more squat. All right, guys, I do have to go. I very much appreciate you all watching today. If you have more questions, I'll try. Put them in the comments below. I will get to all those. Put them in the comments below. I will get to those, I promise. Yeah, Gregory, it's too late, dude. I'm about to leave. No report about Frank Zane. I would have heard. I'm going to check Instagram. It would be all over the place if he really died. Anyway, guys, again, thank you so much for watching. Appreciate it. Please subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell. Make sure it's on always getting notifications so you know when we put out videos, because, yes, I do want this channel to grow. I do want your views. It's a big part of my job is to get those views. Try to put out a lot of good quality content for you guys. We'll be doing wrap-ups tomorrow. Giles Thomas is going to be doing judging and finals wrap-ups of the Prague Pro. I will be doing a wrap-up on Sunday with Milo Sarshev, who has a couple athletes in the show, Regan Grimes and Samson Doda, for instance, doing that show. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please have a great weekend.